In order to help my fiancé secure the project, I accompanied the client to drink until I had a miscarriage. However, because of a phone call from his first love, he left me by the roadside. Lying on the operating table, I saw my first love having a candlelit dinner with him. The caption read, "No matter how far I go, you'll be there when I look back. You are my most solid fallback." Our mutual friends were all waiting to laugh at me. In response, I replaced the name of the bride on all the wedding invitations, and sent them to all our relatives and friends. They are a perfect match by nature. I wish they stay together for life. William had been worried about this project for the Nathaniel group for a long time, and he finally got the opportunity to negotiate. The other party had only one requirement, which was that I accompany him to drink. If I could make him satisfied with the drinking, he would sign the contract. For this reason, William begged me for a long time, and I reluctantly agreed. I drank glass after glass of wine, while William absentmindedly checked the time over and over again. After several rounds of drinking, the CEO of the Nathaniel Group indeed kept his promise and asked William to take out the contract and prepare to sign it. Who would have thought that just then, William's phone rang. He answered it without hesitation and then got up in a hurry, grabbing his clothes. "I have something urgent. We'll talk about the contract next time." He left me, stunned, and the CEO of the Nathaniel Group, with a dark face, at the dining table. After making more than a dozen phone calls that went unanswered, and with my humble apologies, the CEO of the Nathaniel Group left with a dark face, and naturally, the signing of the contract was left unresolved. I could only stagger to the roadside to hail a taxi. Unexpectedly, as soon as I reached the roadside, a sharp pain in my abdomen made me double over. The next second, I felt warm liquid flowing down from below. I felt my consciousness gradually fading. Summoning my last bit of strength, I dialed the emergency number. The ambulance arrived quickly. After a preliminary examination by the accompanying doctor, he was immediately furious. "Are you trying to kill yourself? You're pregnant and still drinking so much." Pregnant? I was stunned. How could I be pregnant? After going to the hospital and undergoing a series of examinations, the doctor shook his head and said, "It's a pity. The baby is almost 3 months old. The baby is gone. Call a family member to sign. You need to have a dilation and curettage operation." I grabbed the doctor's arm and choked up, "It's impossible. I have my period every month. How can the baby be 3 months old?" The doctor patiently explained, "Everyone's constitution is different. Some people still have their periods normally when they're pregnant, just with less flow. No wonder. No wonder my last 2 periods only lasted 2 days. I had always thought it was because I was too tired recently." Lying in the operating room, I called William again and again. But 10 minutes later, a new update suddenly appeared in my WeChat moments. It was from Sophia. The caption on her moments read, "No matter how far I go, you'll be there when I look back. You are my most solid fallback." And the accompanying picture was a photo of William having a candlelit dinner with her. The corners of my mouth twitched, and I couldn't help but smile bitterly. So that's it. So today is the day Sophia returned to the country, and so William went to pick her up at the airport. He was willing to give up months of hard work just to have a candlelit dinner with his first love. Tears streamed down the corners of my eyes. I turned off my phone and said to the doctor, "Can you keep it for me?" Because I had drunk a large amount of alcohol, I couldn't have anesthesia. But an acute miscarriage couldn't wait, so I could only endure it. The excruciating pain almost made me pass out. These 30 minutes became the most tortuous half-hour of my life. When all the cold instruments left my body and the doctor announced that the operation was over, I finally couldn't hold on any longer and tilted my head, losing all consciousness. When I woke up, there was a woman sitting by the bed, with her head down, reading a book. It was someone I didn't expect, William's twin sister, Luna. Because of my love for William, I also disliked the people he disliked. "You're awake?" Luna put down the book and pointed to the thermal box by the bedside. "I brought you some pig liver soup. You need to replenish your body after the miscarriage." I pursed my lips. Why are you here? Luna sneered disdainfully. Do you still expect that ungrateful wretch William to come? Not really. Luna continued. You fell into a coma after the operation, and the hospital called me. I quickly flipped through my phone and then saw that among the missed calls, the first ones were to William. Then it was Luna. I clutched my phone, feeling a surge of bitterness in my heart. Under Luna's gaze, I felt a wave of embarrassment. I was in such a sorry state at the moment, and I didn't want Luna to see me like this. Luna, however, didn't care about my feelings at all. She got straight to the point. You don't have to be so wary of me. I've never regarded you as an enemy. It's all just my brother's wishful thinking. I'm here today to propose a cooperation with you. Meeting my puzzled gaze, Luna took out a contract from her bag and placed it in front of me. Although I don't take my brother seriously, he's so stupid that I'm afraid he'll cause trouble for me. So I've always been keeping an eye on his activities. Naturally, you're also within my scope of observation. My brother is really hopeless. If it weren't for your help, he would have lost money countless times already. I think after all this, you must be extremely disappointed in my brother. Why not consider a change? As I listened to Luna's olive branch, I looked down at the contract. When I saw the terms she offered, my years of training in expression management instinctively failed me. They once take, and a high-paying position abroad. These terms were really enviable. I looked up at her. Aren't you afraid that I'll go back to William later? Luna shrugged infuriately and said, You're a smart person. You should know which choice is the most cost-effective. That idiot William isn't worth investing your youth and time in any longer. Think about it carefully. I'll give you a week. If you agree, sign the contract and come to work in my company directly. Build up your resume, and when the visa is approved, you can go and take up the position. With that, Luna strode out of the ward in high heels, carrying her bag, looking dashing. I looked at her with a hint of envy and tightened my grip on the contract. All day long, William didn't call me. However, Sophia's WeChat moments had several more updates. They were all 9 square grids, with the backgrounds ranging from an amusement park to a cinema, a restaurant, and a shopping mall. It seemed that their itinerary was very fulfilling, and I sneered. No wonder he didn't have time. After sending a message to William, I signed my name on the contract and took a photo to send to Luna. She replied with an emoji saying, I have high hopes for you. Just as I put away the contract, William's phone call came in. Why didn't you arrange your work properly and take a leave of absence without saying a word? Do you know how much progress you've fallen behind? Will you be responsible if the deal falls through? As soon as I answered the phone, he started scolding me. He didn't even ask why. It seemed that my silence awakened his meager conscience, and William's tone softened. Look, I didn't mean to scold you. There are just so many things going on in the company. I interrupted him. Did you have a good time with Sophia? Is she going to work in the company? You know about it. On the other end of the phone, William was silent for a moment and replied somewhat guiltily. Don't think too much. She's been abroad for a long time and feels a bit unfamiliar now that she's back. I'm just accompanying her to readjust to the environment here. As for the job, don't worry. Sophia is very capable and won't hold you back. She's just here for a temporary transition. I couldn't help but laugh. It turned out that William had directly arranged for Sophia to be by my side. Given how much he cared about Sophia, her position was probably not lower than mine, and she might even be directly above me. As for the so-called transition, I couldn't help but shake my head. Whatever. Perhaps my tone was too cold, or perhaps my emotions were too calm. William seemed a bit uncomfortable. What kind of tantrum are you throwing now? Sophia is my friend. What's wrong with me giving her a hand? Can't you be more understanding? I was a bit puzzled. Where am I throwing a tantrum? You two are close. Isn't it normal to give each other a hand? William on the other end of the phone couldn't say a word for a long time. Is there anything else? If not, I'll hang up. I didn't have the patience to talk to him anymore. I had to go through the discharge procedures later. I was busy. Then dress up tonight, and we'll go to that Neil Western restaurant you wanted to go to. William rarely showed a soft attitude, but his words made me feel dazed. Neil Western restaurant was the place I wanted to go to for my birthday last year. But my birthday this year had already passed. I was stunned for a while. Under William's impatient urging, I slowly said, that Neil Western restaurant went out of business last month. Then let's change to another one. The UG private club in the Western City is also quite good. I interrupted him, that private club was sold at the beginning of the year. It has now been turned into a cat CAF. Look, many things become overdue if you keep putting them off. There isn't even a chance for redemption. William was taken aback. Then You can just go with Sophia. I'm very busy and don't have the time. William clearly didn't expect me to reject him so directly, and his temper flared up. Take it or leave it. Don't say later that I don't accompany you. After saying that, he hung up the phone. If it were before, being hung up on like this by him would surely make me feel panicked, and I would be busy explaining and apologizing. But now I just threw my phone back into my bag, feeling completely calm. I knew that the last sentence William said was out of anger on purpose. Because I simply couldn't stand his distant attitude, and I could only seek his forgiveness in a very humble way. I was his marionette, and he could do as he pleased while I drifted along with his whims. But at this moment, I no longer had those conflicting emotions as before. After being discharged from the hospital, I rested at home for another day before returning to the company. Since I was going to take up a position in a new place, I had to properly deal with the matters left behind in my previous job. William and I met in our sophomore year of university and established a relationship in our junior year. During our internship, we joined the Henry Group together. William's family gave each of the twin siblings a company. The Henry Group had good development prospects and a better working environment, so William chose this one on the spot. The other small and almost bankrupt company was given to Luna. William and I entered the Henry Group together. He became the president right away, while I started from the most basic work. I drank one meal after another of alcohol to secure large orders for him one by one. Finally, I gradually climbed up to the position of the director of the marketing department. The hardships I endured during this process were only known to myself. As soon as I entered the office, I saw a graceful figure sitting at my desk operating the computer. Hearing the sound, the person raised her head slightly, revealing a stunningly beautiful face. It was Sophia. She was very surprised and then said to the recently hired secretary, "What's going on? Why didn't you inform me in advance that Miss Emma was coming in?" It was ridiculous. Did I really need to be announced in advance to enter my own office? The secretary's face also showed some embarrassment, and she quickly explained, "Mum. William asked Miss Sophia to work here. He said he had informed you and that you agreed. When did this happen? Why didn't I know about it?" I found it funny in my heart but was too lazy to argue. I just let out a memph. "I'm here to get my personal belongings." Of course, there were also some materials that were still in the confidentiality stage. But as soon as I opened the filing cabinet, Sophia suddenly spoke up. "Miss Emma, isn't this a bit inappropriate? William isn't here. If you take these out of the room and the materials happen to be leaked, I won't be able to explain it." I looked at her. Her expression was one of feigned distress, her tone innocent, but in her eyes was an obvious provocation. I really didn't like that look in her eyes. And it made me dislike her as a person as well. When I was with William, I already knew that he had a first love. At that time, William said that they were just friends now. But as soon as Sophia made a transoceanic call, even if it was already 3 or 4 in the morning, William would immediately get up and answer her video call. William even, in order to show that there was nothing between him and Sophia, would chat with her in Italian, a language I couldn't understand, right in front of me. He completely ignored the fact that I had just fallen asleep for an hour or two after a whole night of socializing. At first, I endured it. But later, when William insisted on pulling me up to join the video call together, I couldn't bear it anymore. I smashed his tablet on the spot and had a big argument with him. This was the first time William and I quarreled because of Sophia, and from then on, we would quarrel because of her every now and then. I don't know what Sophia was thinking. She actually flew back to the country, looking as if she was making amends. She bowed to me and gave me gifts, pitifully saying words of apology. Then when William was protecting her, she gave me a provocative look. Sophia offered to invite me to dinner to make up for it. I didn't want to go at first, but William's words, "Sophia has already apologized. Don't make things difficult for me," silenced me. I went to the restaurant with them. Looking at the table full of spicy dishes, I just felt a dull pain in my stomach. After so much socializing for such a long time, with one round of drinking after another, my stomach was already in a terrible state and couldn't tolerate even a little bit of spiciness. William knew about this. In fact, he even went to the examination with me. But looking at the table full of bright red spicy dishes, he remained silent and just attentively picked up food for Sophia. Because she loved spicy food the most. That day, I left without eating a single bite. Not turning over the table was the last bit of my self-restraint. Looking back on it now, I was really stupid. I should have just turned over the table and let those two have their way. William came in and broke the stalemate. Sophia turned her head and glanced at William. Her eyes immediately turned red. She quickly lowered her head and tucked the fallen hair behind her ear, saying nothing. But this pitiful act of hers spoke louder than words. Sure enough, William immediately stepped forward and hugged her in his arms. With a flickering gaze, he said sternly, Sophia is just staying here for a while. The environment here is good, and since you've been absent from work for so many days, she's just helping you deal with some affairs." I looked at his action of hugging Sophia and couldn't help but mock myself in my heart. Look, he knew I had been absent from work for 2 days, yet from beginning to end, he didn't ask me why. It seemed that he saw the mockery in my eyes, and a trace of guilt flashed in William's eyes. He knew how much I had sacrificed to climb up to this position, but he directly handed over the fruits of my efforts to his first love. It was somewhat unreasonable. So his tone softened a bit. "If you mind, I'll just..." I raised my hand to interrupt him. "You can give this office to whoever you want. I have no objections. But since she's sitting in this office, she should also have the corresponding status, right? It would be a bit inappropriate for me to still hold the position of the director of the marketing department. I don't want to make things difficult for you either. Here's my resignation letter. I hope that considering my dedicated efforts for the Henry Group over the years, you can complete the formalities today and settle my salary." I placed the resignation letter on the desk. While I was still speaking, William suddenly slapped a resignation letter off the desk with a dark face. What do you mean? Are you really so intolerant of Sophia?" William's sudden outburst startled Sophia. Then, a trace of weakness naturally appeared on her face. But surprisingly, this time William's gaze didn't stay on her. I saw Sophia's face contour for a moment, and a flash of jealousy burst out in her eyes as she looked at me. I was puzzled in my heart. She had William's affection. What did she have to be jealous of me for? I calmly looked at the envelope on the ground and said inferently, "Just what it says." William gritted his teeth and nodded, repeatedly saying, "Fine, fine, fine." Then he directly swept the things on the desk to the ground and said viciously, Who are you trying to threaten? Do you think the Henry Group can operate without you? If you don't want to work here, there are plenty of people who do. Secretary, call the HR department right away and handle the formalities for Emma. Immediately, right now." With that, William turned his face away and walked out. Sophia cast a look at me with a faint, enigmatic smile playing on her lips, and the arrogance and triumph in her eyes were blatantly evident, leaving no room for concealment. "Sorry, Miss Emma. I need to continue working. Please leave my office." She deliberately emphasized the last sentence. I just found her annoying. I calmly picked up my personal belongings and left the office to go to the HR department to handle the resignation formalities. Unexpectedly, what the HR department gave me was a dismissal notice, and they even had the compensation ready. Not a penny less. Holding the compensation money, I couldn't help but click my tongue. Was William trying to ruin the reputation I had painstakingly built up and make it impossible for me to find a job? So petty. Just as I was about to leave, the HR staff stopped me. There are 2 agreements you need to sign here. I glanced over. They were a non-compete agreement and a business confidentiality agreement. The non-compete agreement was nothing special. It was a common practice in the industry. I picked it up and took a closer look. Only then did I find that the non-compete agreement stated a term of 2 years. 2 years. Was he trying to cut off all the connections I had built in this circle? The business confidentiality agreement was also for 2 years. What a ruthless move. William was really tough. But he probably didn't know that I was already planning to go to Luna's company. As twin siblings, especially with a not-so-good relationship between them, they often engaged in competitive behavior. But in order to avoid the situation where 2 parties fight and a third party benefits, the business directions of the companies given to the brother and sister by William's family are not the same, and there is not the slightest connection between them. Signing this agreement won't affect my joining Luna's company either, so there's no need to worry at all. At this moment, I couldn't help but want to thank William for his fear of Luna. Because of my love for William, I had regarded Luna as an opponent in the past and conducted a lot of investigations on her in private, including the product she managed and the development direction of her company. It can be said that in terms of my understanding of her company, I'm probably even clearer than the management staff who have only worked there for 3 or 5 years. These were my most precious assets, and I was confident that I could get fully up to speed within 3 days. I took all the materials and left. I didn't go to Luna's company immediately. She gave me a month's rest time and a large pile of materials. One was to let me recuperate my body, and the other was to let me get familiar with the company's operation mode in advance. During this period, I was very proactive in going to bed early and getting up early to recuperate my body. I also carefully studied the materials Luna gave me. I had taken tens of thousands of words worth of analysis notes alone. William never called me, let alone came to find me. It seemed that he still hadn't opened the gift I sent him. Otherwise, he couldn't be so calm. But people can't help being thought about. Just as this thought crossed my mind, William's call came in. Where are you? His tone was stiff and awkward, but there was no other emotion. I lowered my eyebrows and said, "What's the matter?" There seemed to be some noise on William's end. The butler said you haven't been back for a month. Did you forget what day it is today? What day was it today? I looked at the circled date on the calendar and suddenly realized. Today was the 1st anniversary of our engagement. It was also the day to go to William's family's old residence to discuss the wedding date. This was something that had been decided on the day of our engagement. According to the rules of William's family, the matters of getting married or terminating the engagement could only be discussed after 1 year of engagement. This was also the reason why I didn't break up with William on the spot that day. But I had to keep this appointment today. I quickly put down the materials in my hand, tidied myself up and put on makeup, and then went to William's family's old residence. When I arrived, it was only 3 in the afternoon. There were still 3 hours until the dinner party, but most of the relevant people had already arrived. Even Luna had arrived early, but William was nowhere to be seen. Over the years, although William and I had frequent quarrels, I still had a good relationship with his family at the old residence. So when I showed up, most of the elders were willing to give me a smile. Luna came up to me and said, "How's it going?" I instinctively thought she was asking about the materials and immediately said, "I've almost figured it out. I can start working next week." Luna shook her head, "That's not what I'm asking about." I was taken aback for a moment before I realized what she meant. I looked at the door. There were less than 10 minutes left before the dinner party started, and William still hadn't shown up. Based on my understanding of him, he probably wouldn't come today. I shook my head, "It's all over today." Luna patted my shoulder gently, looking disappointed. My brother really doesn't know a good thing when he sees it. I smiled. It's a good thing he doesn't too. Otherwise, how could I have recognized his true character and been able to pull myself out of it quickly? Someone came to announce the start of the meal. I took Luna's hand and said, "Let's go. I have something to announce." Luna followed closely behind and entered the hall with me. I walked straight to the podium, took the microphone on it, and first bowed apologetically to William's family members present. "I'm sorry. Before the dinner starts, I have something to announce to everyone. I'm canceling my engagement with William." I didn't reveal more details, just roughly said that we were not suitable for each other. William's family was reasonable and didn't make things difficult for me, but there was a lot of regret in their expressions. They really thought that I would end up with William. I felt sorry for bringing this disturbance to William's family. They had been very kind to me, but I couldn't endure William's scumbag behavior, just because of their kindness to me. I declined Luna's offer to send me home with the driver and walked alone on the tree-lined avenue, enjoying the breeze to ease my feeling of relief. I planned to hail a taxi by the National Road. Just then, William's car slowly drove over from the opposite side and stopped beside me. The car window rolled down, revealing William's somewhat uncomfortable face. "Sorry, I had something to deal with today." Sophia in the passenger seat leaned forward and looked at me, looking very comfortable. She said softly, "I'm really sorry, Miss Emma. William went to help me with something and kept you waiting. It's all my fault. Please don't blame him." After saying that, she looked at William worriedly and bowed to me, as if she was really afraid that I would take my anger out on someone. William quickly explained, "Whoa, don't misunderstand. Sophia sprained her ankle, and I took her to the hospital. You know, she has no relatives or friends here and couldn't find anyone else to help." I wore a polite and distant smile on my face. "It's good that she's okay. Miss Sophia just returned to the country, and as her only friend, it's only right for you to give her more help." At this moment, I really envied Sophia. When she sprained her ankle, someone was considerate enough to take her to the hospital, while when I had a miscarriage, I was alone on the delivery bed. When the instruments for the dilation and curative operation entered my body, I was not only stunned but also scared. At that time, I really hoped that my fiancé could be by my side. Even though the baby was lost because of him, I still hoped that he could be by my side as my closest person. But in reality, he had long gone to the airport to wait for Sophia to land, as if he was afraid that such a grown person would get lost in this bustling city if he went a little late. Fortunately, I now recognized William's unreliability. Those ridiculous emotions and that ridiculous person had all been thrown away by me. I turned around and walked away. William quickly opened the car door and chased after me, grabbing my wrist. "It's still early. The dinner party has just started. Let's go back right away and announce our wedding. It's set for next month. Don't be willful. We haven't had a meal together for a long time. Just stay with me." My body stiffened. Willful? Who is being willful? Even the wedding date, I just found out now. Based on my understanding of him, I'm afraid he only knew about it a minute earlier than me. I pulled my hand away. "No need. I've already apologized in person to Luna's parents and the other elders in your family. Our engagement is cancelled." They agreed. "And I don't need this meal either." The muscles on William's face twitched, and the shock in his eyes couldn't be hidden. A trace of panic flashed across his face. In fact, I was supposed to go back to William's family for a meal during festivals. The first few times were okay. But at the New Year's Day dinner party at the beginning of this year, from the start to the end of the dinner, William didn't show up. His parents and I took turns calling him, but his phone was out of reach. When my phone's battery was almost dead, he finally answered the phone impatiently. "What do you want?" "I just picked up Sophia and I'm on the way." "Are you trying to kill me? Do you really need this meal that badly? Haven't you ever eaten? Speak if you have something to say." I was completely stunned. That's when I knew that Sophia had actually come back today. At that moment, Sophia's voice came from the phone appropriately. "William, is that Miss Emma?" why don't you go and take care of your business? It's okay for me to go to the hotel alone. But is there a good restaurant nearby? I haven't had a chance to eat yet. Sophia's voice was gentle, looking understanding but also pitiful. The more she talked, the more impatient William became. He said to the phone, Sophia has been on the plane for several hours and is very tired. Do you really want to see a girl like her go to the hotel alone? How can she carry all those luggage? You're my girlfriend. Don't you even understand the most basic etiquette of entertaining guests? William hung up the phone, leaving me to face the mess after the Song family's dinner party. The elders of the Song family treated me politely, but most of the people of the same generation looked down on me. My embarrassment that day was seen by these people, and I was made fun of for half a year. This incident had since become a thorn in my heart. For a long time after that, William and I would unconsciously bring up that day. And without exception, we would have a big argument every time. In the end, he would always slam the door and go to Sophia to pour out his distress. However, unlike before, although I was stood up again at today's dinner party, I felt much more relaxed. I didn't quarrel or make a fuss, and my emotions were stable. The people in your family should still be at the party. It's still not too late to go back now. Don't forget your family education and etiquette. There's no reason to leave a guest halfway. This isn't the proper way to entertain guests. After saying that, I turned around and walked away. However, today William seemed to be ignoring Sophia and chased after me insistently, wanting to stay with me. Sophia opened the car door and chased after us. At the right moment, she stumbled and let out an ouch. But with a stubborn look on her face and a considerate tone, she said, William, you drive Miss Emma home. I know Miss Emma feels uncomfortable seeing me. I can just walk by myself. This was where Sophia was clever. She was used to retreating in order to advance. This trick usually worked very well on William. No matter what the situation was between me and William at the moment, he would immediately put everything aside and go to take care of Sophia first. But today, William didn't even glance at her. He pointed at the Song family's residence not far away and said, It's just a few steps away. Someone will come to pick you up later. Sophia looked at him in shock and said, You want me to sit in the car and wait alone? It's so late and it's so dark here. I'm scared. The more pitiful she looked, the more pained William's eyes became when he looked at me. It seemed that he had suddenly had a change of heart, realizing that he had left me on the dark roadside countless times and made me go home alone. And I had gone from being scared and frightened at the beginning to walking the whole way without changing my expression now. People are really creatures with strong adaptability. I've even forgotten that what I was most afraid of was the darkness. In the end, William still took Sophia back to the old residence. I was extremely busy and really didn't have the time to argue with him. This was just a waste of my time and energy. Now, William didn't deserve me to make such sacrifices. I knew William too well. With just a few words, I provoked his anger and made him so angry that he turned around, got in the car, and drove away. And I finally walked to the main road in peace and got into the car that I had booked earlier. When I got home, I found that Luna had sent me a message. Happy being single. I couldn't help but chuckle and simply replied with 2 words, thanks. According to the agreement with Luna, I reported for duty with the materials 3 days later. I only found out later that the 2 agreements I signed earlier were Sophia's idea, and William didn't know about it. Luna told me this. But even if I knew, I didn't feel much about it. The industry that William was in no longer posed a challenge to me, and changing industries meant starting from scratch. But Luna gave me this platform. Moreover, she overruled all objections and directly made me join at a high position instead of starting from the grassroots level again. Although this would make me face more pressure, it saved me a lot of time. And time was very precious to me. My high position meant a high salary, and a high salary meant that I had enough money to pay for my younger sister's treatment and surgery fees. My younger sister suffered from a rare spinal deformity. Correcting it wasn't difficult, but the difficult part was the long recovery period and frequent surgeries. This required a large sum of money. This was the main reason why I worked so hard and strived to climb up the career ladder. And William clearly knew all of this. But even though he knew, he would still leave the drinking parties willfully again and again, leaving me to face those dangerous and greedy men alone. I still remembered the feeling of my whole body tensing up the first time I faced such a situation. But fortunately, I had a bit of toughness in me, which allowed me to get out of the clutches of those wolves unscathed. When we were in college, he did stay by my side and encouraged me again and again. But after entering the workplace, he used my position to threaten me to make way for Sophia time and time again. I couldn't forgive him for that. We were supposed to be the closest lovers, but every knife that stabbed at my weakness was stabbed by him. Because I was so disheartened, I was so decisive when Luna extended the olive branch to me. On the day I signed the contract, Luna had already sent someone to take my younger sister to the most professional hospital for treatment. A surgery was carried out the next day. After nearly 2 months of the recovery period, my younger sister could now barely sit up. The second surgery would also be carried out in the near future. Your younger sister's surgery has been scheduled. I've arranged for the top people to take care of her. You can focus on your work with peace of mind. Hearing Luna's words, a warm feeling welled up in my heart. Don't worry. I will definitely secure these 3 projects for you brilliantly. Luna smiled and handed me the signed document. I believe in your ability. You've done an excellent job in the past month. The voices of those who opposed you have already disappeared. Now if I approve your leave, they won't say anything. My eyes lit up. As long as you secure these 3 projects perfectly, I'll approve a half-month-long vacation for you so that you can go and visit your younger sister. The company will reimburse the round-trip air tickets. Looking at the approved leave application in advance, I felt even more grateful to Luna. They were clearly twins, children born on the same day. How could there be such a big difference between the 2 of them? The projects were completed brilliantly. On the same day, Luna led the whole department to hold a celebration banquet. When I got home, I was surprised to see a familiar figure in front of my house. It was William, whom I hadn't seen for a long time. After not seeing him for 2 months, William looked much more haggard. The tiredness on his face couldn't be hidden, and his skin also looked a bit sallow. When he saw me, his eyes lit up. He quickly took a few steps forward and stood in front of me, his tone urgent. Nuta, why didn't you tell me when you moved? I've been looking for you for a long time. I almost laughed out of anger. I left that home right after being discharged from the hospital, but he didn't even notice until the day our engagement was cancelled. And the place where I'm living now isn't actually that far away, just a dozen kilometers. It's still in the same city. But it took him 2 months to find me, which shows that he didn't put much effort into it. William tried to hold my hand, but I dodged halfway through his movement. He looked at me with a hurt expression. William and I also had a sweet past. We met at a competition. We were both very hardworking. I was going for the scholarship because my younger sister's illness couldn't be delayed any longer. And he wanted to prove that he was better than Luna and not a good-for-nothing in the Song family. We got to know each other, cherished each other, encouraged each other, and gradually developed feelings, which was how we got together. But everything changed when Sophia appeared. The shadow of a third person emerged in our 2-person world. And I seemed to be the redundant one. I was fed up with this. Ma, are you still angry? I was just angry at that time. I didn't mean it. I stopped him, just say what you have to say. William opened his mouth to speak when a harsh phone ringtone rang wildly. William didn't hesitate to press the hang-up button, but the ringtone persisted. Later, William was so annoyed that he wanted to turn off the phone. I snatched it from him and answered the call for him. The person is calling so urgently. Maybe it's something important. It would be a pity to miss it. Sophia's crazy scream came from the other end of the line. Oh, William, come and save me. My house is on fire. The sound of things being knocked over could be vaguely heard in the background. William glanced at me carefully, then turned around and shouted into the phone, "Call the fire department if there's a fire." What's the use of calling me? Sophia's voice became even shriller. I did call them, but they haven't come. I'm so scared, I'm going to die. The call was suddenly cut off, and a look of unease appeared on William's face. I returned the phone to him with a half smile. Go ahead. Human life is at stake. My words seemed to be some kind of amnesty order. William let out a sigh of relief and hurriedly said, I'll be back soon, before running into the elevator. Looking at his back, my face was filled with mockery. See, in front of Sophia, I was always the one who got left behind. I immediately booked a plane ticket and flew to the hospital where my younger sister was. Seeing my younger sister, who could already get out of bed and walk a few steps, I suddenly felt that all my efforts were worth it. In order not to be disturbed, I turned off my personal phone and only kept my newly registered work phone on. The warm half-month vacation ended quickly. I bought a ticket to go back to work. Just as I sat down to eat a casually bought fast food, a strange phone call came in. I thought it was a client. After answering it, Sophia's hysterical voice came from the other end. Uta, what are you doing? Why haven't you answered the phone for the past half-month? Do you know that William is almost dying? Oh? I raised my eyebrows slightly. This was an unexpected piece of news. Tell me, how close is he to death? Let me see if I have time to buy flowers after I finish my meal. There was a moment of silence on the other side, and then a more shrill cry broke out. William is already in the ICU in the hospital, and you still have the mood to eat? I was taken aback. Was the situation really that serious? But the next second, a weak voice came from the other end of the phone. Who allowed you to come in? Get out. Accompanied by Sophia's unwilling scream, the phone was forcefully hung up. I was surprised by William's harshness and distance towards Sophia. What had happened between them in just half a month? Of course, this didn't affect my meal. After I finished eating, I finally saw Luna's message. My brother is in XX hospital, in VIP ward no. To the message was short, but I understood what she meant. She wanted me to go and take a look at William. I casually bought a bunch of flowers and slowly walked to the ward. At a glance, I saw William with a pale face and his brothers surrounding him. And Sophia, who had been yelled at on the phone just now, was peeling an apple with a wronged expression. Yo, I haven't seen you for half a month. Your appearance is quite unique. As soon as I entered the door, I mocked mercilessly, attracting angry glares from everyone in the ward. Sophia was so angry that she stood up and started scolding me with a fruit knife in her hand. How did you take care of William? He was sent to the ICU and you didn't even show up. William immediately scolded, Sophia, shut up. Under Sophia's resentful and jealous gaze, William turned his head and said softly to me, don't listen to her nonsense. It's just a gastric perforation. Gastric perforation. I understood, and I couldn't hold back the smile on my face. This scene stung everyone's eyes in the room. Sophia jumped up again. William almost died on the operating table. How can you have the nerve to laugh? Not only her, but also several of William's brothers around him condemned me one after another. I stopped smiling and looked at her coldly. Why can't I laugh? He deserves it. I used to stand in front of him and shield him from all the hardships, allowing him to have the energy to meet you. Now there's no one to drink for him at the drinking table, and no one to stand in front of him without hesitation. He can only step in himself and ended up with a gastric perforation. Now you're blaming me. Why don't you drink for him? Sophia's face turned bright red. A look of guilt appeared on William's face. His voice trembled and there was a layer of bloodshot in his eyes as he looked at me. I'm sorry. I didn't know you had it so hard before. I turned back to look at him. You're much happier than me. At least you have friends and family by your side now. I was all alone on the operating table back then. The guilt on William's face grew even stronger. I also went through this to realize the danger back then. I interrupted him. I don't need your apology. I'm just here because someone asked me to. Since everyone is here, I'll say what I didn't get to say before. From today on, we're even. Don't come to me again in the future. don't disturb my current peace. I put down the flowers and took out a ring from my bosom. It was the promise ring. William had taken off his a long time ago, and I only took off mine when I was on the operating table that day. I'm returning it to him now, and we're completely even. No, I don't want to break up. Emma, I was wrong. Come back. I turned around and left neatly. Behind me came William's shouts and the panicked voices of his brothers. I even heard someone getting slapped after I went out, but it had nothing to do with me anymore. I thought William would cause trouble, but unexpectedly, 3 months passed, and my life was unusually quiet. Fortunately, the fulfillment of my work made me happy. Until one day, Luna handed me a letter of appointment. Your ability is obvious to all. I've discussed it with the chairman in the past half month and decided to give you an additional promotion to be the executive president abroad. In the same country as your younger sister. I was overjoyed. Really? Didn't that mean I could visit my younger sister often? Luna nodded. There's another consideration. My brother can't tell what's important. He's caused a lot of trouble at home in the past half month. The old man is extremely disappointed in him and has cut off all his resources. I was taken aback. I suddenly understood why, given William's status, he would drink to such an extent. It turned out that he had been abandoned by his own family. Moreover, as far as I know, he once sent someone to investigate the hospital where your younger sister was, intending to stop her treatment to force you to show up. I clenched my fingers, and a chill ran down my spine. That's right. William had always been such a selfish person. Since he could threaten me to give in with my position, he naturally dared to threaten me to come back with my younger sister's treatment. Fortunately, you were quick and had already transferred your family members. Otherwise, who knows what kind of trouble would have happened. Listening to Luna's words, I felt my back soaked in cold sweat. I have to thank you for giving me the opportunity, which allowed me to have enough money and time to do all this. Luna waved her hand and said indifferently. This is all something you deserve because of your ability. Don't thank me. You should thank your own efforts. Also, I need to tell you something. That Sophia used my brother to transfer the company's property. My brother knew about it and even helped cover it up. Now my dad has found out about it. Originally, my dad thought that cutting off all help would be a lesson for him. But unexpectedly, my brother was so muddle-headed that he went to steal my dad's official seal. Luna shrugged, looking helpless and disdainful. She had never thought highly of her brother, but it didn't stop her from despising her brother's muddle-headedness. Now that I heard this news, I could remain calm. I calmly signed the letter of appointment. The reporting time on it was next week. Before I left the door, Luna seemed to think of something and called out to me again. By the way, did you give my brother a gift? I thought blankly for a long time before I remembered the box I put on his desk after I was discharged from the hospital. I nodded. It was the examination report and the operation report of that child back then. And the embryo from the miscarriage. I had it frozen so that it wouldn't rot. Luna was taken aback, and then she burst into laughter, laughing so hard that she bent over. You don't know. After my brother was found out stealing the official seal, he had a quarrel with Sophia when he went back. Sophia kicked him. The doctor said. He won't be able to have children in the future. That means that was his only child, but he ruined it himself. So that's how it was. I shrugged, looking indifferent. I just felt that this was all a cycle of cause and effect. He sowed the seeds himself, and now it was time for him to taste the bitter fruit. The next day, I packed my things and left the city. As for what happened to those people later, I didn't pay any more attention. After all, it had nothing to do with me anymore. My new life doesn't need the attention of others.